All righty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Daily Roundup webinar. I hope everybody's having a great trading session. And boy, we've got some volatility today. I tweeted something regarding the Aussie, and it wasn't regarding the Aussie. It was just the Aussie in general. It broke it to new highs, and I sent out a tweet, and I'm like, hey, if something hits a new 52-week high or low, and it's not pulling back, it's probably going to continue. And the Aussie, once it broke the 40 level, 77.40, it's just been notching higher. Right now, I do think that we have a little bit higher to go before you start to see a bit of a pullback in the Aussie. You have the 127% extension right here, but plus you have the 4-hour channel. You can see this nice 4-hour channel. It's pretty well behaved. This makes a lot of sense going into tonight. When I say going into tonight, we've got the Georgia Senate seat elections, the two elections that everybody's watching. There's a chance that the Democrats won't be swept, and the Republicans will, or we're not going to get the blue wave is what I should say. And the Democrats are not going to win. And then the Republicans will retain those seats and the dollar may bounce. So just keep that in mind as we're, up at these, what I would consider pretty lofty levels. Is the Aussie bearish? No. But is it, up against resistance? Yeah, it is. So you just got to be a little careful with it up here. I actually wouldn't mind selling some in the 70s if I could get it, but I have orders out. Let's see. Yeah, I have an order out, and I just don't know if it's going to be tripped, frankly. But I'm looking at that as just a potential pullback to where we can get back towards 77 cents, maybe 76.50, which would be channel support. As long as this channel's holding, though, you got to retain a bullish outlook, if you will, for the Aussie. It's obviously hitting new highs, and that's a key development. We're racing the new highs. Let's talk about the dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian dropped aggressively today. Why? Because crude oil is higher. You have OPEC, Saudi talking about cuts, and as I've mentioned to you guys in the past, crude oil, it may become a very little used commodity in the future, like 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years from now, and you would think, oh, well, won't crude go to zero? And the answer to that is no, because what happens is when prices get too weak, you get, the OPEC members will start cutting their production. What really happens longer term is you're going to have, less money making its way to the oil-rich countries, which is, Canada, Saudi Arabia, or Middle East, a lot of parts of the Middle East, Russia. There's going to be less investment in those areas, but they can control prices. So if they want to keep prices elevated, to a point where they can, it's a fine line that they have to walk. They have to make money, right? But they have to make sure that demand stays up enough. And if they make it too cheap, they don't make enough money. But if they adjust prices and prices become too expensive, they cut too much, prices become too expensive, then demand's going to drop and then they make less money. So eventually, money just starts, over the next 15, 20 years, the last place I'd want to be right now, I'm just going to say this out loud, I would not want to be in Dubai. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't, for the rest of my life. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The dollar Canadian dropped pretty aggressively as a result. Remember, we had a false breakdown yesterday. We couldn't break this trend line all night. We slammed back down. We are at support here, 126.80. If you're in the chat rooms with me, I picked it up right here. I'm not risking very much. I bought it at 126.80, right where we're trading. I'm just going to try to make, a quick 20, 30 pips out of it. That's it. I'm not asking for a whole lot out of here. At this moment, I'm just more scalping, ahead of tonight. So if I can get a bounce back up to 127.10, 127.20, I'd be really happy with that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think it's worth the risk here. Let's see here real quick. 50% retracement, 618, 200, and it's almost an 88% retracement right there, 88. So, I mean, theoretically, we could bounce from here. It's not a very strong, I'm taking a small position. It's not anything I'm going to write home about. But that's something that I'm doing right now. Euro, let's talk about the euro. So the euro's in the ascending wedge. If you got the ForexAnalytix update here in the euro dollar, you've already seen this chart. I was looking for a move maybe above new highs to reach, 123.30, 123.25, quite possibly reach for the 161% extension maybe overnight. I don't know though. That might be grasping for straws, but I think that we can hit new highs. And I would be careful with the euro as we hit new highs. Again, the reason why is think about what's happening tonight with the Senate races. If the Republicans retain control, which voter turnout, from what I'm seeing here on social media, voter turnout's pretty light. And so that could favor Republicans. So if Republicans retain those seats, at least one of the seats, that's all they need. I don't know if Loeffner is going to win, but I think Perdue's going to win. Anyway, if they retain one of those seats, then the Democrats don't retain, they don't take control of the Senate, and then the dollar could rally. So you'd see a little recovery in the dollar. Speaking of the dollar, let's take a look at it really quick. The dollar index, I was monitoring this inverted head and shoulder pattern. It was just a setup. Obviously, we're trying to play into new lows. And what I'd mentioned to you guys on the webinar is that we're still divergent. And frankly, if we can just make one stab towards 89 tonight, that would, for me, be the area that I'd like to actually try to buy the dollar index somewhere down here. Not the dollar index. I'd probably short euros or, but I think this is what I'd look for, something like this. And I know I talked about it on today's FACE webinar earlier. Obviously that's not going to work well if the dollar for the dollar Canadian. So hopefully we get a little bit of a bounce right now. I'm just talking about into tonight or, tomorrow morning, is what I'm really thinking here. Let's talk about gold really quick. Gold, my colleague, he was asking about it, and we were talking about it. I'm like, man, if gold, it hasn't pulled back. If we can break this, 1965 level, it should take us back to 2020. That would, clear all this resistance. It's also the 618 retracement, right? So this 1960 is a really, really big resistance for gold. So, if the dollar is going to continue to be weak, I don't see what's stopping gold from going up there, right? That seems pretty logical to me. Just in the theme of continuing dollar weakness, at least for right now. So, man, this dollar Canadian is so weak. It's unbelievable. This thing cannot get out of its way. I'm probably going to take my 3-4 pip loss here and just move along, because it's not just the Canadian. It is really just the dollar in general. One of the things that you got to think about regarding Canada too, and this is the one thing that I continue to play the dollar Canadian on the long side for a counter trend play, and it's worked out well. It's not working out well right at this moment, but for the most part, playing the dollar Canadian on the long side has been, it's doable. And the reason why is the Bank of Canada is really frustrated with the Canadian dollar as strong as it is right now. And so that is that's something that I take into account, that they are, they just a few weeks ago, they were very vocal on the strength of the Canadian dollar. And I think that that is going to continue. So playing the Canadian dollar on the short side, to me, makes sense if I want to buy dollars. I tend to do it that way. And same with the dollar Mexican peso as well. And you guys all know the reasons why. Let's see. Chad said, hey, not likely, both or none. People are going to vote down ballot, in my opinion. I thought that too. And I think, well, Chad, you live in Georgia, don't you? Isn't that correct? You're a Georgian peach. Oh, you are a peach. I'm just kidding, Chad. Chad's in our chat room. But yeah, I can't argue that. I really can't. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll see how it shakes out this evening. It's going to be interesting, and it's probably going to create some volatility. So just like I said earlier today, just be careful. Trade carefully around here. Try not to be too aggressive. Man, this damn Canadian, so heavy. Yeah, just try not to be too aggressive. I'm trading pretty small right now because I'm not confident. I mean, I'm not confident in anything that I'm seeing here. People were in the chat room were asking me, hey, Blake, were you looking at this or looking at that? And I'm just like, I'm not really too terribly excited at the moment. Just trying to pick up a few pips here and there, sometimes successfully, sometimes unsuccessfully. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I want to thank you all, especially those of you that are, listening in live. Thank you so much for your support. As always, you guys are the heartbeat of ForexAnalytix. And especially for those of you that are in the chat rooms that are chatting, all day long, it's nice. I couldn't imagine, not, chatting with you guys all day. So, yes, I did take a shower, and yes, I'm wearing a ForexAnalytix shirt. So, anyway, you guys have a great one. I'll see you this evening in the chat rooms. If I don't see you there, I'll see you in the Face webinar. All right, talk to you later.